Back here on the Cover 3 Takeover here on CBS Sports HQ. That's Barrett Salee. That's Tom Fornelli. I'm Chip Patterson. It's time to go across the country. We go conference by conference with our very best bet for Week 11. And Barrett, the SEC on CBS, is going to give us an incredible opportunity to dig in on this modern rivalry between coaches and Ole Miss, trying to make a little bit of history. Is that going to be where you're going for your best bet this week in the SEC?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when you look at this Ole Miss team, like you couldn't script a better time to play Alabama. You're looking at Ole Miss with 2 weeks to prepare. You know Lane Kiffin's going to get really excited and draw up some creative plays for his former boss. And then this is an Alabama team that has not been in this situation since 2010. It has not been in mid-November with no shot at the college football playoff. Back then, yeah, you could tell them, hey, play for pride. This group, it doesn't look like they've been playing for pride all year long. There's been so lack of energy all across that field on the road. Very undisciplined. This Ole Miss team, the same recipe that Tennessee has: run, work off play action, hit them deep. To hit them deep is the most important part because Alabama's secondary is a sieve back there. So grab Ole Miss, grab the points. If you want to live dangerously, grab the money line. I think this is one of the most shocking and the biggest mistake that Vegas has made. This game is going to be extremely close.
I'm going to go to the Arkansas LSU game, a game that has probably never been more ripe for an upset, considering that LSU pulled off the win over Alabama last week, while Arkansas lost to Liberty. So clearly these two teams, LSU might have the letdown. Arkansas needs to get its act together. But I'm not going to bet on that because I don't know what the status of Arkansas quarterback KJ Jefferson is just yet. Instead, I want to take the under in this game because I do expect that there will be some sort of emotional letdown from LSU after beating the Tide in overtime last week. And I also think that while Arkansas's defense is not good in any real sense or fashion, it can do a decent job of slowing down the LSU rushing attack, which is really what LSU still excels at. The passing attack has not come along. And if there is a defensive weakness for LSU, it is on the ground stopping the run. And that's really all Arkansas is capable of doing right now anyway. So if KJ Jefferson is playing, I think that there's value on the under. And if he happens to miss the game, I think there's a lot more value on the under. So that's what I'm going to take in this one this week.
I am going to make a projection that Will Levis is going to have so many of his highlights from the NFL draft circuit. You know, when Ryan Wilson is on here telling you where he's going to go in the NFL draft, I think it's going to come from the Vanderbilt game. And I think that it is good for Kentucky for Will Levis to have a good performance because it's been a little bit difficult. I mean, he was dreadful against Tennessee. 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He did have 3 touchdowns in the win against Missouri, but he only had 170 yards passing. I think that this Wildcats offense, which, by the way, also has to play Georgia's defense next week, I think that they are going to get out and absolutely cook the way that so many quarterbacks have. Because if Spencer Rattler was able to have one of his best performances of the season against this Vanderbilt pass defense, I certainly think that Will Levis will be able to as well. So give me Kentucky team total over 33. Tom, let us turn our attention to the Big Ten. A lot of action out there. You've got Ohio State and Michigan as heavy favorites. You've got Illinois and Purdue in a battle for the Big Ten West. Where is your best bet for Week 11 in the Big Ten?
Yeah, Michigan is ranked number 3 this week in the college football playoff rankings. And one of the knocks against it all season long has been, even though it has that win against Penn State, it does not have an amazing overall resume. So if Michigan wants to be in the same position where Tennessee currently finds itself, where if it loses to Ohio State at the end of the year and is sitting there with 1 loss and wants to still have a chance at the college football playoff, it's got to blow teams out. And I think there's been a couple instances this year against Maryland at home and against Indiana where the Wolverines haven't really put their foot on the gas when they've had the chance to make the game look a lot more lopsided than it is. And I think that's going to happen this week against the Nebraska team that, frankly, I don't know what motivation is left. I feel like this is a coaching staff that probably realizes it's not going to get to stay on board to take over. Mickey Joseph has done the best job that he can, but I don't think he's going to be Nebraska's choice to replace Scott Frost in the long run. So I think Michigan is going to run the score up as much as possible. So where I see the total as low as it is, I think there's a very realistic chance Michigan can go over that on its own. So I'm going to take the over here.
I'll fade you, Tom. I'm taking the under. I think sort of the same rationale you have. Good team, bad team, though. I do think Michigan will blow Nebraska out. I just don't know if Nebraska can score. So are we going to trust Michigan to score 49 points or 50 points? I don't think they'll have to blow them out that badly. So I do think they'll work on some things offensively, get things right for the stretch run, but I don't think they're going to have any issues defensively. So look, I think in a game like this, you have to worry about motivation. And Tom, like you said, Nebraska's motivation, I can't imagine what it is other than springing an upset, but it's just not able. It's not constructed to upset Michigan. I'd be surprised if Nebraska gets into double digits. And if that's the case, I'll take the under.
7 Big Ten games in week 11, every team in action in conference play. And the three of us, unbeknownst to each other, have all zeroed in on the same game with different plays. What do you know? Give me Michigan. I'll go ahead and lay the points. I think that there is a motivation issue potentially where the coaches are getting their resumes together, the players are getting their transfer portal papers together, and Michigan, on the other hand, has sort of reached that next level where they know exactly who they are and what they do, and they aren't going to be positioned for a slip-up. The defense squeezes the life out of you. Blake Corum wears you down. And even if you stop him for just 3-4 yards on each of those runs in the first half, by the time you get into the second half, you're beat up. And those become 30 and 40-yard runs for Corum. Plus, if you think that he's going to be in the Heisman conversation and that matters to Michigan, they're going to leave him in the game and they're going to let him keep scoring touchdowns. So I will take Michigan and I will lay the points. We turn our attention to the Atlantic Coast Conference. Barrett, you've got Clemson trying to get off the mat at home with Louisville coming to play. You've got what could be basketball on grass between North Carolina and Wake Forest. You have a Miami, Georgia Tech game. All right, where are you going for the ACC best bet for Week 11?
Definitely not here in Atlanta. I think North Carolina is going to raise up and spring an upset on Wake Forest. Although I don't think it should be an upset. I will grab those points, but I don't think I'll need them because I think North Carolina is going to win this game outright. Look, I think a lot of folks have been sleeping on the Tar Heels. They're lurking around as a one-loss ACC team. If they make the ACC championship game and win, might have a pretty decent resume. And they have a Heisman Trophy candidate in Drake May, who Mac Brown and Phil Longo are going to want to show off in a big game that they are an underdog in. And they might have to because both of these defenses are flat out terrible. But in that situation, I will go with the quarterback who is more trustworthy. Before the season, I would say it's Sam Hartman. Right now, it's Drake May. North Carolina in the money line, but take the points just in case.
Yeah, we're in the same exact spot on this one. I think North Carolina is one of the most disrespected teams in the country right now. If you look at its overall resume and statistical profile, it's essentially the same thing as USC, except USC gets to hang out in the top 10 of the CFP rankings while they seem reluctant to even consider North Carolina for anything at the moment. And I think this is a team that offensively is one of the best in the country. Drake May is a terrific quarterback who is having a fantastic season. And as you mentioned, Barrett, before the season, you're trusting Sam Hartman in this game. But if you watch Sam Hartman the last 2 weeks, I don't know what the problem is, but he is turning the ball over consistently and on every other possession. He had 3 interceptions against Louisville a couple weeks ago in his second half that went just completely haywire for the Deacons as they turned the ball over 8 times. And he did not recover last week. He threw 3 more interceptions in last week's game. I just can't trust him right now. I cannot trust this Wake offense. I do not understand why the Demon Deacons are favored in this game. Give me Carolina and the points, and I'm with you, Barrett. If you want the money line, I'm certainly not going to try to talk you out of it.
Yeah, I'm not going to try to talk either of y'all out of this because my play has a lot to do with where you're going, especially with the confidence in Drake May and the confidence in North Carolina. I'm going North Carolina team total over 36.5. And the reason why I'm not going to go, full game over, the reason why I'm not going to go North Carolina is that Sam Hartman is just such a question mark. And I wonder if Hartman is going to be able to bounce back. Now, I've done a little bit of digging into this, and it was suggested to me, and there might be some credence to this, that both of these performances, which have both been very poor, back-to-back road appearances, and that all Sam Hartman needs is to get back to the comfy confines of Grove Stadium, aka BB&T Field, aka Truist Field, aka the little ATM machine, and that passing attack will be right back where it needs to be. So, just in case that Wake offense does come out here with cooking after a couple bad performances, I want to go with the thing I can count on the most, and that is Drake May lighting up this Wake Forest defense. So give me North Carolina team total over 36.5. What about in the Big 12? TCU taking that 9-0 record to go play at Texas. You've got a Baylor-Kansas State game that could be very interesting, especially as teams are jockeying for position to make it to Dallas. Tom, where are you going to go for your best bet in the Big 12 this week?
Yeah, I'm going to go to that TCU Texas game where I think we've got another team being disrespected with this point spread. Listen, I consider myself analytically inclined. I have my power ratings. I understand why Texas is favored in this game. It is a very good team whose record doesn't quite live up to the potential that it has on the field. But Texas has long had a lot of potential on the field that it has failed to live up to time and time again. So I do not find myself in a position take this Texas team with the young, inexperienced quarterback as a more than touchdown favorite against one of the top 4 teams in the country, an undefeated TCU team that has been battle tested. It has been in big games and it has come out victorious in them. It's led them from start to finish. It's found itself deep in a hole and dug itself out time and time again, no matter what. By the time the fourth quarter comes to an end, TCU finds itself winning the game. Maybe Texas pulls off the upset. Maybe they're the first team to knock the Horned Frogs off the pedestal. But if they do, they're not doing it by more than a touchdown. Texas just does not know how to close games. They almost blew another 17-point lead last week. Give me the Frogs in the 7.5.
Yeah, one team closes, the other team can't. And the team that does is TCU. They've done it consistently, and they've done it in a variety of different ways. One game, it's Max Duggan. The next game, it's on the ground. So I think for TCU, the fact that they can close in a variety of different ways is something they should be complimented for, not criticized for. And that hook on the end of this is so interesting because you're telling me a touchdown ticket cashes for TCU, a team that's 7-1-1 against the spread this year. 100% I'm going with the Horned Frogs. There's going to be extra motivation because this is the big dog. This is Texas. I know TCU, in theory, is going to downplay that a little bit, but you always want to beat the big dog in the state. That, of course, is the Longhorns. And TCU, I don't care how much higher ranked they are, it still matters to beat that burnt orange. They're going to come out hot. I don't think they're going to need a second half surge because I think TCU is going to want to make a statement, especially with the eyes of the nation upon them.
That game's going to be so much fun. There's so many levels to it. There's so much at stake. You even got Gary Patterson against his old team. I'm sure the Frogs want to beat the fun police that is Gary Patterson, and Gary Patterson wants revenge against TCU. Just so much fun in that game. I'm going to take you to the least fun game in the Big 12 this week because that's where I think we're going to make money. We're going Oklahoma State, Iowa State, under 48.5. I just have gone through all these different Big 12 profiles in preparation for the weekend, and there is an outlier on almost every profile, and it's when these teams play Iowa State. It's just like, nope. Oh, you have an explosive offense? Welcome to getting sucked down into 23-13. Like, oh, you think that you're going to be able to have something comfortable. Here's a 10-9 result. So I think that we are going to see Oklahoma State, which might be without Spencer Sanders. We at least have injury questions here. I think that this game is going to be high 30s, low 40s. 48.5 is just too many daggum points. And again, I'm not telling you to put this on a main screen. I'm just saying that, this is going to be an opportunity for us to make some money. We go under the 48.5. Turning our attention out west. Barrett, where are you going to go for your best bet in the Pac-12?
Look, good offense versus good offense, and Washington's going to grab 13 points. I know Autzen Stadium's tough, but I'll take the Huskies. I love Bo Nix. I think Oregon's going to win the game. I think Oregon is a national championship contender. But then this Washington passing attack is next level good. So you're going to tell me that Washington is that much worse offensively than Oregon? No, they're not. Michael Penix has been phenomenal. You see it right there. pretty much tops in every single category in the Pac-12. So I think you're going to see a shootout here. You're looking at a 50-48 style game, and even if it's a 50-40 style game, a Washington ticket still cashes. So I'm excited to see what happens when Michael Penix goes up against Bo Nix. I think you should see a lot of fireworks. And because of that, I think you see Washington cover.
You are incorrect, sir, because my best bet in the Pac-12 this week is Oregon -13. I understand, like you said, these are both two very good offenses, and Washington is fantastic at moving the ball through the air, but they both have terrible defenses, but at least Oregon can kind of stop the run, which means they could take that away from Washington and force Michael Penix to drop back and do nothing but throw. And when you put Michael Penix in that situation, it becomes a little easier to defend when you don't have to worry about stopping the run. And if you look at the splits, Michael Penix's overall numbers are fantastic, but there is a whole lot of bum slaying in those numbers because in Washington's tougher games, he's been turning the ball over. When I look at this matchup, I think we're going to see a couple turnovers from Michael Penix that are going to not only decide this game, but will also give Oregon the cover. So I'm laying the points with the Ducks.
I'm going to head out to Pullman, take a look at Washington State, welcoming Arizona State to town. The Cougs are motivated to try to make it to bowl eligibility. They're not there yet, and they've got a remaining schedule that also includes a road trip to Arizona and the Apple Cup against Washington. This may be Washington State's best opportunity to be able to go ahead and punch that ticket. Arizona State, on the other hand, is coming in with an interim coach. They've already got 6 losses on the season. Sun Devils will need to win out, and I ask, do they really want to? Are they really going to have that extra edge that they need to be able to go on the road and take down Washington State, a team that finally got its offense rocking and rolling last week against Stanford? And it's family weekend, baby. The Palouse will have great vibes as Washington State wins this thing by double digits.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.